Okay. Good morning. Can everybody hear me, see me?
Perfect. Hello.
Let's see. Let me go back to, here it is. Okay. Perfect. Yes. Good morning, everybody. And thank you for joining us for the semi-official kickoff, I guess, of our GoUSA 2024. My name is Natasha Chatelain. And together with Daniel, who I'll also introduce later on in the presentation, we are Open Austria in San Francisco, and we are the San Francisco arm of the Austrian Federal Trade Commission, or the WKO. And I would like to give you a little bit of overview of what we do, give you a little bit of insider info also about our GoUSA program. And then we're going to kick off the actual program with Cal and Jeff. Can everybody see? Oh, hi, I see everybody. Good morning. So lovely. Can everybody see the PowerPoint? Yes. Okay, great. So I'm going to start sharing that. Let's see. There we go. So this is us. Daniel Sawazinski is the Austrian Trade Commissioner, and he is the head of our office, which is the two of us plus an intern several times in a year. And we are at Galvanize in the heart of San Francisco, downtown, and our focus, because of where we are, is technology and innovation. We have been around since 2016, so we've been very active in the San Francisco Bay Area, really not just San Francisco. And I myself have been in the Bay Area since 2007. A little bit about the GoUSA. I want to introduce you guys to this one, and that's probably also why you showed some interest in our one slide pitch deck session today. We have our flagship program, the GoUSA, every year, which is where we invite for San Francisco 10 promising Austrian startups to come deep dive for a month into the San Francisco or Silicon Valley ecosystem, gain actionable insights, how to do pitching, introductions to investors, and just how to do business the way all the successful startups have done amidst all the big tech companies, right? Everybody's here, Google, Apple, etc. They're right down the street from us. We also have a Go Boston and a Go Atlanta for the first time this year. And the focus of each one, of course, is going to be a little bit different. Boston is MedTech, and Atlanta is going to also have a different focus. We've done the program for 16 years now, and over 200 startups have gone through. You can see their logos in the background here. And basically the format is that you come as a startup, you apply. We have a team of judges that will go through your application, and based on that, we choose a first round of people that can go on to actually pitch. And from that round, we narrow it down to 20 participants, 10 in San Francisco, 6 in Boston, and 4 in Atlanta. You will come here for 2 weeks of very intense boot camp with our tech partners. In Boston, Atlanta, San Francisco, it's all different partners that we work with. And then you have an optional 2 weeks where you can just sit in our co-working space and just work on your everything that you've learned during those 2 weeks and deepen out your contacts that you've made. The San Francisco program is also tied to TechCrunch. If you make it into the San Francisco program, you automatically get an entrance into TechCrunch. And you get to go there. The TechCrunch usually starts the day after our demo day. This year it's going to coincide with the beginning. So we're going to get a lot of lookers and people that are interested in the whole startup ecosystem. So it's a great opportunity for you to showcase your startup. These are our locations. Go Atlanta Energy Tech, MedTech and Digital Health for Boston, and Tech and Investment in the San Francisco Go Silicon Valley, GoUSA Bootcamp. This is what I already explained. We'll have, during those 2 intensive weeks, we'll also organize some networking events, put you in front of investors, put you in front of your peers that have already been, doing their startup here in San Francisco. I can imagine in New York and in Atlanta, it's going to be the same thing. You have a mentoring program in all 3 locations where you'll be assigned your own mentor who will work with you to make sure that they keep you, on track for all the goals that you've set. Strategic contacts, people that are maybe in your value chain, investors, whatever it is that you need, and of course, a space where you can work out of. You will have 24-hour access in San Francisco, and you will have at least 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Access in the other locations, possibly more. We've already started with the applications, and they close on May 30th. So if you haven't applied yet, please do so. We will share the link to apply with you after this webinar. And we will announce the winners early, mid-June, July. Oftentimes we get some late applications that still come in, but generally in June, we will have the winners announced. And in August, we will have a virtual onboarding masterclass. And this is also where we start choosing the mentors and pairing you up with your mentors and get you on track. And finally, in September, early September is when we will do what we call the, I forget the name now. Daniel, help me out here. We have a kickoff in
a departure workshop.
Departure, thank you. We'll have the departure workshop actually in Vienna. So everybody that made it into the program, you will all meet there. And I or Victoria, who I'll introduce you in a little bit to her on a slide, will be there, and we will start with putting, on paper what it is that you want to accomplish, and so that we have a benchmark for your progress. November 23rd is when all of the programs should have concluded. They're staggered. The first one, Boston, begins mid-September. The San Francisco one is in late October, and the Atlanta one, I will owe you the dates, exact dates on that one. So here are the goals, and USPs, your target group. You can read that yourself, but in short, it's either you get investor ready, or you come to actually raise money, but we are careful to make any promises. There are no guarantees in the program that you will come here, that there's investors lining, the street and throwing dollars at you, but we will definitely get you ready to be able to even have the language and the numbers and the attitude to speak to these investors, or to even get into a room with them once you're ready for that. So we will give you the tools and the contacts to get that going. And let's also be very clear that sometimes you might not be after investors, you might be after getting clients, or even just testing your product for product market fit. That's what the program is for. We are the organizing team. So you see here, it's Daniel, me, and Victoria. Victoria will be the one organizing Boston and Atlanta. And we've been, the three of us, doing this together for about 2 or 3 years now, and put together several programs. I think between us, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 9 or 10 programs by now in 3 short years. So any questions you may have, you see the emails, you can reach out to us. Questions about application, questions about visa, questions about whatever you have a question about, just send us an email. And I am going now to introduce you to Jeff and Cal. Let me stop sharing. Cal and Jeff, can you guys turn on your camera so people can see you? I think you're already on there. Oh, there's Jeff Wallace and Cal Deutsch. And they will be the ones that will be running the one-slide pitch deck presentation now. We have worked with Cal and Jeff for the San Francisco boot camp last year. It was a huge success. They're incredibly knowledgeable. And Cal and Jeff run Silicon Valley in Your Pocket, and Silicon Valley in Your Pocket helps startups accelerate. Basically, did I explain that kind of in short, in very short? Well,
that's an elevator pitch. I think you got it.
I got it. So I will leave it over to you to introduce yourselves. And I also wanted to give a couple of household items. If you want to say something or ask a question, or there's something that wasn't clear to you, you can raise your hand. There's a raise hand sign on the top left, not top, in the middle left. So you can go ahead and do that anytime you need to. And I will let Cal and Jeff introduce themselves and talk a little bit more about what they're going to do.
Awesome. Jeff, well, I'll just jump right in and introduce myself. My name is Cal Deutsch, and I am thrilled to be here. I'm also very happy to say that I am a dual citizen. I am American and I am Austrian. So it's always a double pleasure for me to do these programs. Jeff is going to start walking us through some of the things in our deck, but this is really about you all. And so what I would ask all of you to do is to put your name and your company name and the slide that you want to practice pitching into the Q&A window. And so the idea within our program today is that you'll see in our slides, we break apart your pitch deck into individual slides. And you'll see in our slides that we basically see each slide kind of as a 30-second commercial for the point you're trying to make, and you want to wow your audience. And we'll kind of explain that concept. So today is all about not practicing your entire pitch, but just maybe the slide or the part of your pitch that maybe is giving you a little bit more concern that you'd like to practice, and then have Jeff and myself give you feedback. So you'll have up to 90 seconds to do that pitch. I think in the real world, when you're actually pitching, you'll have less time than that. And so how much time we have for each presenter depends on how many people actually are interested in practicing pitching today. So please start putting things into the Q&A if you want to practice a particular slide, and tell us which slide you want to do, and we'll go in the order that the requests come in. Please also just put in any questions if this did not make sense, and we will start building on that. And like we warned that this is going to be interactive, I will start recruiting people to practice elements of their pitch deck if we don't have enough volunteers. Jeff, did I miss anything, or any other color you'd like to share?
No, I think you've covered it. We're happy to be here and looking forward to working with each of you, learning more about yourselves and each of your businesses, and hopefully giving you some insights from our experience. Just to give some context, brief context within Silicon Valley in Your Pocket, Cal and I have been doing this full time for nearly about 9 years now, working with founders, a little over 9 years. From around the world. We've worked in over 40 countries with over thousands of founders. And so we've gotten to see a lot of things. And that's in addition to each of our own respective experiences as serial entrepreneurs. So we're really excited to learn about all of you guys. This, as Cal said, is meant to be interactive. We're not here to just present to you. We're hopefully going to get some of you to be volunteers to engage and share some of your slides. But we'll do a little bit of a tee up and set the stage for what we're going to be talking about here. And then hopefully we'll jump into some of the interactive aspects of the discussion today. So basically, I'll just jump right into it. And I can't see the chat window, Cal, so please call out if something appears in the chat window to stop me, because I'm seeing the full screen on my laptop. But basically, this is the recommended story flow that we would look for and that we'll generally work toward with each of you with your respective businesses. All of these presentation slides, by the way, will be given out. So there's no need to kind of try to screen grab anything. We'll provide this document to you all afterwards. And then for the guide that we have here, you'll be able to grab it. Again, you'll have this for yourselves, but you'll be able to grab this guide, and it kind of walks through this presentation, kind of walks through this guide that we often provide to companies that we're working with. And as you'll see, it goes in a fairly standard order. You know, start with your title slide. Believe it or not, we have suggestions for title slides. Then you get into the problem solution or product market fit kind of aspects, the value proposition, what's your intellectual property, your competitive advantages, the market size, the market opportunity, how you make money in it, your business model, your go-to-market strategy, the competitive landscape or the competitive analysis, your team, the financials that you need to share with prospective investors, traction to show them you're making headway and that you have the ability to execute, and then ultimately you're going to leave them with an ask, meaning how much money are you trying to raise and what will that money help you do and to what outcome. So that's the standard flow. We're going to go kind of in an order here, but when we're getting into the interactive aspects of the discussion, there's no order. If anyone wants to volunteer, and let's say the first volunteer says, I'd love to talk about my competitive pitch or my competitive landscape within my pitch, we'll jump to this section. So please feel free when we're at that stage to just jump in with whichever slide might be kind of giving you a little bit of frustration or challenge at the moment.
And it is worth noting that if you happen to have a slide that's not on our list, we certainly welcome alternative slides as well. You can explain why it's relevant and important within your investor pitch to have that slide. And that's the kind of conversation that we would like to have.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you, Cal. So as we like to say, you know, when it comes to your pitch deck, a lot of people think that they have to convey as much information about their business as is possible. But the reality is you only have one objective, which is make somebody think this is interesting, I want to learn more. So the goal isn't to try to jam as much of the information into the allotted time, whether it's 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever you might have. The goal is within that time to capture the curiosity and the enthusiastic interest of the audience so that they want to learn more. That then sets up the conversation where you can go much deeper and share the more detailed information about your business. But this first version of your pitch has to achieve this objective. It has to create that curiosity and that, as I say, enthusiastic interest in the audience. And if you think about it like you're an advertising agency, as Cal mentioned earlier, we like to think of each slide as a 30-second commercial. And it's kind of about right in terms of timing, because on average, I would say, in most of the situations you'll be in a pitch event of some sort here, you might get about 6 or 7 minutes to present your story. And you might have about 12 or 13 slides you're going to be presenting. So it really does work out to just about, on average, 30 seconds. Now, if one slide takes 5 seconds or 10 seconds, then of course that frees up some extra time on another slide. But on average, it really is about a 30-second commercial for each of the various topics that you're going to be talking about within your pitch presentation. So go ahead, Cal, please.
Well, I think now's a good time. We have a few people that put their names and company names into the chat, and I would certainly welcome now. Why don't we start with Elena from Hemp Static. Elena, are you there? Can we unmute her and put her camera on?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am. Hello.
Pleasure to meet you, Elena. And tell us very quickly what your company does, and then what's the state of your pitch deck?
Okay, so we make sound insulation from plants. And the state of our pitch deck currently, it's in it's like a working draft. We definitely want to have it prepared because we will be fundraising from this month on, actually.
So first of all, there's a brand new circular economy innovation hub being developed in California right now. And this is exactly the kind of thing they're looking for. So that's kind of exciting for us as well. We've worked with them a little bit already. Which part of your story in your pitch do you have the most trouble with right now, or that keeps you awake at night?
Well, there are a few, but one that definitely needs more work than the other slides is the competitive landscape, I would say, or the competitive analysis.
Do you want to screen share that right now, that we can take a look at it?
Yes.
And then, like we said, you have up to 90 seconds to practice your pitch on that competitor slide.
Okay, let's give it a try.
While you're bringing that up, I just want to thank you for taking the plunge. And so it's not always easy to be the first one up to volunteer. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you for the
I usually make
opportunity.
Cal be the first one up just because it's nerve-wracking.
Cool. Okay. So what makes us different from the competitors out there is the technical performance of the products that we offer, the CO2 footprint that we are able to achieve by using plant as main raw material, and the circular end of life, which helps us to put biodegradable products into the market and thus reduce hazardous waste at the end of life. This would be much less than 90 seconds, but basically that's the main message.
Okay. One suggestion, obviously, in a real pitch, you would be in presentation mode. So right now you're not in presentation mode, so you didn't take advantage of the full screen that we could.
Oops. Good point. Thank you.
Yeah. So one rule of thumb for you and for everybody is the people you're pitching to, oops, you're out of time. You made it. They will be older, gray-haired people with bad eyes wearing glasses. And so if you make them work harder by squinting and so forth, not a good thing. So that's one thing to think about. My first comment is, I don't see any competitors on here. I see materials, but you're not competing against materials, you're competing against companies, right?
Yes. So exactly, this landscape is more based on materials, yeah, not on company. So this is what we can change.
So a competitive analysis starts with understanding the landscape. First of all, who your end user is. Is this industrial sound insulation? Is it for residential? All of these things would have implications as to what company or groups of companies are your competitors, and you should kind of think about that landscape. You should also think, I don't quite follow the ranking on the left. It goes 10. So you basically, it's 0 to 10. So it's just from best to worst.
Yes, from first place to last place.
Yeah, and then total value. Again, I don't fully understand what the total value is. 0 to 100. Is it for cost effectiveness or kind of bang for the buck, as we say in America?
Yeah, it's a benchmarking that we did based on 5 parameters. Here we have compiled the technical performance in 1 parameter. Then we have the CO2 footprint and circularity. But of course, there is an Excel sheet behind that. And from this slide, I can totally understand why you don't you don't know what it means.
So, and I think in a second, Jeff will show you a sample slide of how we kind of illustrate the competitive landscape. My immediate comment might be, as we think about what segment you're going after, let's say you're going for industrial builders, so people that do commercial construction. Let's pretend they're your customers.
They are.
Okay, perfect. Then if you were to interview them and tell them what their objectives are, what their challenges are, maybe they need to, be LEEDs compliant for, sustainability and things like that. Maybe it's cost effectiveness, maybe it's ease of installation, but it's only by doing that kind of customer discovery you would understand what they're looking for. Because I suspect if you interviewed them, they would not say, well, we're thinking about wood wool or sheep wool, and that's not really their mindset. So I'll pause there, and you can tell me if this kind of resonates yet in terms of how your customer discovery might help shape the output that would be on your competitor's slide.
Yes,
Does that make
absolutely.
Sense? Okay.
So the most important parameters that the customer is looking out for when they're making the choice of which product to purchase. You would say this is what we should use as benchmarking in our competitive analysis.
Yeah. And then a very common one is sort of like plotting things on an XY chart, and then you put yourself in the upper right. And it's done. It's not our favorite. And Jeff, I don't know, did you want to say anything, or then also kind of jump into a sample slide?
Yeah, I would love to comment. And in fact, my comment in response to your slide is actually contained within some of the slides we have. So I'm going to reshare my deck. I know we're going to go back and forth with various folks, and I'll jump straight to the section that we're referencing here. So give me one moment. Hopefully you guys, someone just confirm you can see my screen back again. Yeah?
Yep. All good.
Okay, so for your competitive analysis slide, we'll show a few things that, as we like to do for each slide, we just talk about some things to keep in mind. So some of the things that even your slide, you'll notice some of our comments will address in part the ways you've demonstrated or reflected your competitive landscape. One was going to Cal's conversation. You're really trying to show that you know who the incumbents are, the competitors are, and who you're essentially either going to take market from. That's going to tell investors you know the world you're operating within. So as Cal made the comment, there really was no listed competitors. So we don't really have a sense if you know who the competitors in your market are, not the materials, but the actual companies you're vying against. And you want to be able to tell a story why you are best positioned to win in the market. So what we want to do is take your advantages that you have, your competitive advantages that will help you outpace and outcompete the others, and tie it back to the problem solution and the value propositions that you're bringing in your business. And there's examples. We'll show a couple of examples in here in a moment. Now, we recommend something called a customer needs focused pedal chart, or something else called a finger on the pulse of customer needs chart. And I'll show examples of each of these. But this last bullet that's coming right now is one that I think you'll recognize why we have it here. Using the we have all the checks and our competitors don't, or hey, look, we're in the upper right quadrant. When we see a quadrant chart, I could close my eyes and tell you what quadrant the company is in. It's always the upper right quadrant. And I'm not poking fun. It's just something we've seen so many of these decks. And that's the point. If you showed me a chart that said, here's a check marks, I would know you're the column with all the check marks. And if you show me a quadrant, I know you're in the upper right quadrant. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you have all the checks or if you're in the upper right quadrant, but they're so common that they don't really give you a chance to engage the curiosity and intrigue of the audience. And so, as we say, we recommend using a customer needs focused pedal chart. So what in the world do I mean by that? For those of you that are not familiar with pedal charts, I'm going to go on and show you. Here is what we would call a market-based pedal chart. And what I mean by that is if you look at these black words, corporate, higher education, adult learning, institutions, and startup ecosystem, this company, Zana, this is a very classic example, by the way, of a pedal chart. But this company would be Zana in this example, presenting and saying, here's how we are positioned in the marketplace. Now, our attitude about this is markets are interesting, but they're not as interesting as they could be. They're less compelling or less interesting to us because at the end of the day, there is no market if you're not solving a customer need. So we drill it even further back and say, let's go and focus on what are the customer needs. So we think about it as, what are the top things, for example, that customers want in a solution? This is a real slide from another company's deck, and they've done a bunch of surveys, dozens of surveys under a National Science Foundation here in the US program. And so what they've done is they've identified customers want a solution. Now, this is in the sanitizing space, just to give the context of it. But they want a solution that doesn't involve liquids and heat in order to sanitize something. They want something which has fixed pricing versus variable pricing. Similarly, they want something that enhances productivity and is very time efficient for the employees in the companies that are utilizing this particular device. They want something that is eco-friendly or sustainable from an environmental perspective. And of course, as I said, it's about sanitizing. They want it to be high efficacy for sanitizing. They want it to actually sanitize. So if you think about positioning your company by saying, well, what do the customers in the market that we're focusing on, what are their highest and most important needs or desires? This is where you start. And then you ask, how does the competition lay against or fare against these needs? So you overlay the competitors in the market against that. So in this example, let's say Stink Boss, that's a product out there. You'll notice it's in this pedal here that's called no liquids and heat. So they don't do liquids and heat. That's good. They're in that pedal. They're also in this fixed pricing pedal. You'll see that they overlap here. That's why they're in this overlap area. And they also have fixed pricing, but they don't have enhancements to productivity. They don't have sustainable, and they don't have high efficacy. And similarly, you could say Febreze hits a couple of the pedals, but the point of this is nobody but this company, and this is now called CL, just to sanitize it a bit, they are the one that hits all 5 of the needs. Now, you're able to tell a much more compelling story this way when you say, we didn't get here by coincidence. We got here by talking to bunches and bunches of prospective customers, understanding their needs, and what I would say is purpose building our solution to meet the needs of the market in which we wish to serve. So I hope that example makes sense and maybe provoke some thought. There's more slides here. I can give other examples, but I'd like to leave it here for a moment and get some thoughts and feedback.
Elena, do you have questions?
Currently not, thank you, but I am observing all the information and it makes total sense.
Okay, good. Can you, Elena, can you put your slide back up, and I'll have one other tiny little nitpicky thing.
Just one moment, please.
And this is a very personal nitpicky thing that, but it still probably affects about 10% of the population. So you're using a color coding, and for people that are not as good with colors, I am partially colorblind. I see different shades of beige and gray, and I am not sure where things map out here perfectly. So it's just when you get very exotic with colors, some percent of your audience might get lost. That was my only comment.
Thank you for this one. It's really important, and yeah, the colors are super close to each other, the shades, so it's not very optimal. This says, thank you.
Good. Well, hopefully this helped. And with that, if you don't have any more questions, Elena, can we go to Marcus with IC Learning? And if we're
hi, yeah, thanks. I hope you can hear me already.
Yes, hello, Marcus.
I'm trying to share the screen. Hi. Already, Carl and Jeff, thank you for the input. You've already completely made my presentation redundant with just the information you've already given. So this is already really helpful.
Which slide do you want to talk about today?
Just the problem solution slide. And I'm clicking on the share button. It doesn't do anything. I don't know if you can see anything.
I don't see anything yet.
No.
Sorry, my mistake. Now you are a presenter.
Thanks, Daniel. Well, theoretically, thank you. It should be the share button, right? I don't think it's doing anything for me.
Okay, it's flashing for a second.
Yeah, the other button.
I think it's sharing. I think it's sharing, Marcus.
I don't see anything. I don't see the slide.
So I just see you. So all you have to do is now you have to change to.
Oh, your presentation.
Yeah, I don't know if you're sharing the screen itself.
Yeah, you have to. So when you click on share, hold on.
Marcus, if it
yes.
doesn't, if it's not going to work in the next minute, just send me your slide to San Francisco at WKOAT, and I'll take it up for you, and we'll just go to another person in the meantime. I think you're muted right now.
Yeah. Why don't we very quickly, I saw that there was a comment from Sinthuja, is that correct? To explain this slide will take more than 30 seconds. And I
responded to it in text as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is, just to put it out there, this is what we do. We understand that very often you are forced to do an elevator pitch. You have to say something, and you have to be able to say in 30 seconds or less often that you are better than your competitors. And we do exercises to make sure that you can do it, because somehow commercials accomplish that, you know, drinking this beer will make you more interesting, or, you know, using this deodorant will make you smell better. They can convince you in 30 seconds, and you can do that same thing with these kinds of exercises. And so should we jump ahead and go to?
Can I?
Yeah.
Am I on mute or?
No, we hear you. We hear you.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. So no, why I asked this is if you are in a very industry specific, or very and I'm coming from the manufacturing industry, and if I have to explain the wants of my customer, it's quite technical. And if you have to put this, you have like, okay, like you showed in the petal diagram, you have like the 6 wants, and I saw that you have a couple of sub points. So first you have to explain the want or the requirement of the customer, and then you have to tell where the competitor is standing. And then there are all these intersections, you know, like this person can do A and B, and this person can do C and D. But then it's how is it? Let's say if it's a person, because at the investor, it's not always everybody is highly technical. Let's say my field, I'm talking about real-time connectivity. I'm talking about communication systems, MQTT, or I'm just giving you an example, IoT solutions. And then I have to tell somebody that. Yeah, are you looking for on-premises space? Are you looking for, you know, there are many questions that would come up. And then if I have to show all these intersection points, I'm just wondering how is it that how does it make an impression? Like how does it make me stand out if I show if it's not so clear, because they are like in this time where you showed me, I could only remember 5 of those logos, or even only 2 of the requirements from what you showed. So that was my question.
Excellent question. Here's what I would say is the biggest takeaway. This is our landscape. We have probably 15 different competitors, and all of them solve some of the main needs of the customer. But there's only one company that's solving all of the customer's needs, and that's us. And if that's the only thing that they walk away with, and you can say that we meet their needs, we did the research, we meet their needs in a way that nobody else can, you can say that in 30 seconds without getting into the weeds, really explaining them. You can have very scannable slides where they can look at it in very high level while you're talking in your 30 seconds. You basically, the audience can scan and say, okay, I see a bunch of needs there. Sounds like they did their homework, they did their research. And look at that, they are creditably saying that they're the only ones meeting the needs. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Sure, yeah, it does. But again, my point is that I feel is it how deep do they go in? Because when I make a competitor analysis, I don't know really if my competitor has this this feature in his pocket but has not yet come out with it. He has not yet brought it out because it's in the timeline. And isn't it risky to say that this person is not making this, or to say, okay, the competitor X is not offering liquids, but maybe he will just when I finish the pitch, maybe it comes on his website that he is. So so I'm just wondering, is it not risky to say that the other person is not doing it? This was my how to say, my question, because what I was told from another investor has never mentioned what the others can't, only mention what you can, or don't show anything, or beware when we say that person is not offering that, because you don't know if it's going to come up next. So that's why I was just checking. I hope I'm making sense. Yeah,
makes perfect sense. Let me address it very quickly. That slide, and I don't want to change to the screen, but if you recall my slide, it said we did dozens of surveys of our prospective customers. We've identified the needs as told to us by the marketplace, and we're the only one that delivers all of those needs rather than the customers and other competitors, excuse me. And the only way you can address the point you just made, Sindhusha, is to say, to the best of our knowledge, based on the information available to us at this time, we are the only ones delivering against all 5 of the stated needs that our prospective customers indicated they have. You at some point you have to show who your competition is and why you believe you are able to outcompete them. And I promise you that slide can be delivered in under 30 seconds. I know it sounds like there was a massive amount on there. It truly can. I gave a lot more discussion about it when I presented it than I would if I were pitching that to an investor.
Because it's clear. I mean, I wasn't expecting you to say it in 30 seconds, so that's clear. But yeah, just wanted to understand. Thank you.
Right now we have Marcus and Peter, and then maybe you can go after that. So Marcus, you're set up. Do you want to do your slide?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Daniel, for the quick creative solution. So basically, our project is about restructuring existing learning content and leveraging all the information that is already there, but making it more easy to learn, and addressing another issue with a lot of learning content out there, that it's more geared towards short-term gratification of I've looked at something, I've achieved something, but there's little incentive to keep rehearsing, repeating, to learn about variations and really grasping the depth of a topic, and then putting those skills to actual real-world action and application. So this is our intention. We started. We want to leverage AI options now as well to, let's say, fill gaps in existing learning content. Like, a lot of content is very high quality, but the steps are sometimes too large to grasp. So you feel it's easy in the beginning, and then it loses you, and then there's the next step. And to fill those little gaps, to create the new content that's still missing, basically to make it a good learning experience. And with that, I hope I make up for a little bit of the time that technical issues wasted.
It's all good. So it was about 1 minute and 20 seconds that you just did. My first comment is your slide is very busy. So one of the things you have to think about is behaviorally, where do the eyes of your audience go? And in this one, you know, you're having the problem solution setup. You want to start with the problem. The problem is, like, visually, the ISY in the center is the strongest visual element. And from there, your eyes will quickly follow to segmentation, variation, repetition. So, and again, I would love to have the other participants kind of chime in if they had the same experience or if it was just me. I'm trying to listen to you and at the same time try to decipher what information you have on the slide. And so I went ISY and then down to segmentation. And then I said, okay, well, I'm still lost. And then I started reading. And one of the behavioral problems is If your audience
reading and
is
listening.
reading a slide, you've lost them from the auditory part.
Mhm.
And so the healthiest symbiotic thing is they're listening to you. You want to be the focal point, and you only have bullet points on there
Mhm.
that kind of reinforce what you're saying. And so
Mhm.
because of the disjointed nature of me trying to absorb what's on the slide and listen to you, I struggled piecing it together for the problem solution setup. And I'm going to pause there, and I'd love
Makes
to get
total sense. Yeah.
other
Yeah, Cal, you didn't
people's
make
comments
mention,
and
Cal, that we also have the team on the slide and we have the mission on the slide.
yes, and that's the other thing.
There's a lot going on, as Cal said. This is a very dense slide, if you will, informationally. When it comes to setting up the problem and solution, we often recommend two separate slides. One to be a very relatable representation of the problem. You want people to sit there and go, that problem that Marcus just described makes absolute perfect sense to me. I totally understand it. If you get them there, then they want to, their instinct subconsciously is saying, how do you solve that problem? Because I get the problem. I totally understand it. Now I just want to know, what is your solution? Because I understand the problem. And so you have to balance describing the problem in a very relatable way where people just get it and they kind of are nodding in agreement, or they're just thinking like, I got it.
Yeah.
I feel very much aligned to that problem. If I can switch screen for a moment again. Sorry, Daniel, I'm going back. Here we are. You guys can see my screen again, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're talking about the problem solution slides, again, we have this, what are the few things to keep in mind with these setups? One is there a real problem? And the important part of this line is that someone else can relate to. The audience, whoever they are, has to be able to follow the problem and hopefully say, makes perfect sense, I totally get it. Now that could be a challenge when you're in a very technical field and your audience may not be as technically knowledgeable of that field as you are, but yet there may be an investor who invests in technology, and you need to somehow make this problem statement relatable to them. So that's the primary driver of the problem slide. And you want to get it to the point where they feel like they would be willing to come out of pocket as an investor or as a customer to solve the problem. That is a real problem. I relate to it. I have it. And I'd be willing to pay to get a solution to this problem that I'm hearing about and empathize with. Then you want to really know who is really feeling the pain, because that's truly who you're targeting in the empathy. You want to market your message to that individual or that group of individuals. These are the people feeling the pain of this problem, and I need them to sit there and go, oh my God, absolutely, I need a solution to this problem. And then we recommend heavily, not in 100% of the cases, but in many of the cases, we want to represent problems by using a persona to show the real world context and make it very relatable. And I'll give a couple of short examples. You need the audience at that time to be thinking, I am just like that person. I totally understand that person, as the challenges that person is experiencing is being described to me, because I feel exactly the same way, or my sibling or my spouse or my neighbor, my friend, etc. Someone I'm close to is if it's not me, is just like that persona. And then beyond that, you want to show how your solution addresses the challenges that are represented by the problem, or those challenges that we have described are being experienced by your persona. So here's a real slide. We started with something highly complex. I maybe should have had the before slide here, but this is a story by the founder. This was the after, if you will. The before was quite different, but the after story was, meet Marianne. Marianne is my cousin, and she was like a sibling to me. We were both single children when we grew up in our households as youngsters, and we were more like brother and sister. We were so close. We were best friends. And I'm speaking about her, as you notice, in the past tense, because unfortunately she passed away from late stage detected breast cancer, stage 4 breast cancer. And had they been able to detect Marianne's cancer earlier, it would be very likely she would be on this call with us, because she was such a smart entrepreneurial person. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. The solution to this, which I don't have as the next slide because we're focusing on the problem here, but the solution to this is a solution that allows for early detection, a non-invasive detection method for early detection of cancers, because that's the only way to fight cancer. But the problem is, by the time I get to the bottom of this slide, everybody's thinking of someone perhaps in their own lives that might have suffered from cancer or overcome cancer because it was early detected. And that's the relatability piece. You want to make sure everyone can relate to it. A similar example is this is the problem about dementia affecting, in the United States, 6 million people, 55 million people around the world. It's a huge public health crisis. And we know about this because this woman was the founder's grandmother, and she talked about as a child dealing with her grandmother who was suffering from dementia. And again, we've all got elderly folks or others who are suffering from maybe memory issues or dementia in our lives. It's something many, many people can relate to. And then she goes on and talks about how we can help solve for dementia by it's solutions to help the brain health. So that's another example. One more just quickly. Here's Valerie. She's a school administrator. She's divorced. These are her two children, Ryan and Sarah. They love doing, the things you expect little boys and little girls to do. And you say to yourself, Valerie is just like my neighbor, or I'm just like Valerie. I'm a single parent with a couple of kids. But what we're talking about here is the problem is that divorcing when you have kids does all these negative things. It disrupts lives, creates stress, harms the children, et cetera, et cetera. And the solution to that one is a platform to help parents that are divorced but have children that they co-parent to manage that with less stress, less anxiety, less disruption, et cetera. So you tee up the problems by way of showing a relatable description of the problem or the challenges that are being experienced. And Marcus, I'll stop sharing now. There's more examples, but in your example, life learners, education, too much information, everyone can relate to that. So if you had just put on the slide, meet Jeff, he's trying to learn all these things, but here's the struggles that he has.
Yeah. He's on
then
YouTube.
You could
and he gets
introduce your
distracted by
platform to
related
say,
content.
so we've developed our digital platform that can help him learn more efficiently and more effectively. I hope that, I know it was a long answer and a long description,
That's great.
but I hope it makes sense.
Very much so. Thank you.
Awesome. Good stuff. And Peter from Aero Enterprise.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Peter.
Hi, Peter.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Peter. I'm the founder of Aero Enterprise. Aero Enterprise is a company who develops smart and efficient solutions for the detection of problems with wind turbines. We have been developing a lot of hardware and software for the inspection of wind turbines by drones. And at the moment we have we came to the market and we are selling equipment which helps to make a very easy inspection of wind turbines with an adaptive system, with artificial intelligence, and yeah, that's it.
Coincidentally, our accelerator had a couple of cohorts ago another AI company that supports wind turbines. So it might be interesting. I don't think you're competing, but it might be interesting for you to compare notes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I have also the same problem with our pitch deck with the competitor slide. So thank you for this inputs you gave us. I have another question, just an organizational question, and my question is, how long do you help startup companies? So what is the longest the longest age of the company you're helping? We are in the market now for about nearly 10 years. Yeah, and is this a border for you that you say no, you're too long in the market? Because we had a lot of funding projects. We won a big project from the European Union, the Horizon 2020 project. We went through Corona and all this kind of stuff. But now, since I would say 1.5 years, the company is really growing. And the US market is totally interesting for us because there are a lot of wind turbines, of course, in the US. We also sold already some systems to the US, but the US market is of course very interesting for us. We are covering Europe in the meanwhile, but of course we would like to do the step to the US. So yeah, my question is, are we the right company for your support?
Well, I would let Natasha and Daniel speak to the BKO program. I can say, speaking for our company, we have done all kinds of US onshoring programs and have assisted companies that were like at the B and C round, so very, very large companies as well. But Daniel and Natasha might be able to speak better about the GoUSA program.
So maybe I can chime in from the shadows, if that's okay. So in general, I mean, we have different offices in the US. We have 6 offices in the US as Chamber of Commerce, as Außenwirtschaft Austria. So it really depends on what your goal is. Like if you're planning to really enter the market, so your goal is to sell your product and establish yourself, and it's not really investor focused. We do have the New York or LA office that are, you know, happy to help with those questions regarding, for example, what's the tax status, what's the import regulations, setting up a company. We have in LA a lawyer employed through us, Anton Emsenhuber. He's been with us for 25, 30 years. So if you have any questions regarding, like especially legal questions, he is a great contact. And I always say he's the perfect person to ask as a first round, because he's already working for us. So he has no self-interest into selling you anything, because we are paying him already. So he will give you the most neutral answer to your questions on those topics. And when it's about you looking for investors and you know, more fundraising, then also it depends. We have a colleague on the East Coast, Victoria, that Natasha mentioned, who is also working with startups, and myself and Natasha, who are on the West Coast. So it's really, but like whatever question you have, you can write to me or to Natasha, and we will distribute your inquiry in the US. So you don't need to remember who can help you how. We will make that for you. So it doesn't matter if you're a company that just founded or you're 10 years in the business. It's our job to help you in this market.
Okay, thank you for this information. To be honest, we are looking for both. We are looking for a market, but we are also looking for investors. So, yeah.
Do you want to practice a slide today?
No, I think the information you gave me from the competitors this was very helpful for us, and I think this is absolutely okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Peter.
Sindhuja, did you want to practice a slide?
Yeah, actually, I have a slide, but it's not a slide from my the entire pitch. This is was a request that what if I had to send to an investor just one slide? What would I put on that, and so that I could get the interest? So maybe I share my screen.
Of course, yeah. So usually, if you're sending one slide to an investor, it's not usually a slide. It would be the executive summary. And we can provide
executive summary is the word. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And we have templates for executive summaries as well.
Okay. So just a second.
And in many ways, while you're firing that up, the executive summary very much mirrors the same sort of story flow that we talked about. But here we go. Let's go in.
Yeah, so we are Inchstone. We are a software company, and basically we offer solutions for IoT and industrial IoT. So if I were to say what do, we make components, and the main purpose of the components of the software building blocks we make is to access machine data, and with this you can have convenient access, and you can have a good visualization of the machine data. And who can use the product? It's the machine builders and equipment manufacturers who basically work with standardized connectivity. So these are very industrial specific connectivity called OPC UA or with MQTT or even Bluetooth, which is industry specific. And yeah, so we are working with such companies. And why should they choose us? Because what we have out there are products which are based on industry standards. They are ready to use. That means they are building blocks which we customize, and when the machine builder wants to get started, they can immediately go with a product and they can customize it and white label it, and it reduces complexity, cost, and time. And then it also minimizes the upfront investment risk because they can start small and then grow big. It's quite scalable. So this would be just a short information on what we do and who we are and what we offer. Yeah.
I would say for an investor's perspective, they would want more.
Okay.
Just as a very super, like I'm seeing this for the first time, it's very geared towards what you do instead of articulating the value proposition or the USP, the unique selling proposition. So going back to some of the points that, can you keep it up on the screen?
Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
And you can go back into presentation mode because of my old eyes.
Yeah, okay.
So a couple of very broad comments are, I don't fully understand how you're better, because obviously data visualization tools are fairly ubiquitous. There are lots of service providers that do it. There are some generic benefits, reducing complexity, cost, and time. I don't feel like it's been proven to me like what your secret sauce is, why you're doing something better. And again, if you frame the conversation around the consumer needs and the limitations, the challenges they're facing in getting their needs met, that'll be a different framing. And then the last point I'll make, and then I'll hand it off to Jeff, is we always encourage people to assume that nobody knows the acronyms of your business. Even if you're thinking you're talking to a VC that's a total expert, don't assume they know OPC, UA, MQTT, and so forth. Dumb it down, make it very accessible, and take out any informational friction that you might be putting up there. Jeff, I'll hand it to you.
Yeah, I think you've nailed a lot of the points. This feels a bit to me more almost like a marketing brochure, where I understand what the company does and why I should buy the product. But as an investor, I don't understand how you're better than competitors. I don't understand the financial opportunity for return if I'm going to invest. So our template of an executive summary has a bit more, and it's also a one-page document, but it does capture a bit more. In this information would be here for sure. There's a lot of information that would absolutely be on our template, but we would also include certain areas of value proposition, competitive differentiation, financial upside and opportunity, things of that sort, and even a potential ask in the raise. How much money are you looking to raise to grow? So that would be my comments in addition to what Cal has shared.
Very quickly, we would typically employ something that's portrait. It would be a 3-column layout, but you'd look at it and it almost looks closer to like a 3-column layout in a newspaper. And it's that informationally dense with some visual breaks that you can kind of see, problem solution, value prop, even getting into like investment terms for the raise and so forth. Because ultimately you're selling not to the end user, you're selling to the investor, and they need to understand what you're asking of them in terms of investment, as well as a path to a return on the investment for the investor. Does that help?
Yes, of course. So this is what I wanted to understand. So if I had to, it's called an executive summary, and if you could show how such a thing looks, because many times they don't have the time to go through 14, 15 slides on their own, because, and also very often PowerPoint presentation needs explanation. So if I were to send only one page, how would it look? That would be, if you could share some.
Yeah. So I think we are going to dig up an executive summary and maybe attach, can we do attachments here? Let's keep going. And while we're going, any other questions, Santusha? We'll look for the executive summary and make that available.
Okay, no, at the moment not. Also, we are still in the beginning stages of going to the investors because we have been growing very organically so far, and we are still considering this, and it's a new, we have a lot of learning to do. So,
I'm going to dig up an executive summary, and hopefully I can get something that's a shareable link, because I don't think I could attach it here, and then we'll get that to you before we finish today.
Thank you.
And then I know we're battling the clock here as usual. Timur, would you like to talk about peer management?
Yes, better late than never.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually pitch a product to reach a customer, not investor. And maybe some words about my company. I work in a small boutique consulting group in Vienna with 25 people. And we advise people and organizations in the public and the private sector. So, and I'm almost sure I'm not going to make it in 90 seconds, but I tried. So you can see the presentation mode. Yes, because I don't see the Microsoft Teams anymore. I need some voices.
I see a white screen right now.
Yeah, we see a white screen with a logo in the top right.
Okay, perfect. So yes, then let's start. Remember your first job excitement after graduation? That was me fresh out of business school 3 years ago, joining a leading boutique consulting group of 25 people in Vienna. So what do? We advise people and organizations in all areas of strategy, structure, and culture. And what do you think? What or which of these 3 elements prompts companies to see consultants actually? It's actually none of these individually, because it's the interconnectedness of these 3 aspects. It's the complexity that arises. So you have certainly heard about the term VUCA, which stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambitious. And mastering this landscape and understanding the system thinking is crucial for organizations. So when I started and we had our first customers, I asked myself, why not addressing potential issues of organizations early and before the need of consulting intervention? So we wanted to create a risk-free early learning system for people and organizations to see the bigger picture. And how do we explain complexity? Like this? No. We developed a simulation, and everyone who played like Minecraft or Sims or any other video games knows the engaging power of games. So we developed the VUCA game. And the VUCA game allows you to navigate decisions in a professional setting. You gain hands-on experience with management concepts in a safe environment. You thirdly receive detailed insights on your choices for continuous improvement. And lastly, our simulation develops critical skills in strategy, decision-making, and leadership through dynamic scenarios. So what now? If you're ready to elevate your management skills, visit puremanagement.com and join us for an educational experience that goes beyond traditional management training to see the bigger picture here and in your organization. Thank you.
Okay, good. Let me start by asking, who's your target? Who's your customer?
No, we actually want to target any company that has a rising need for system thinking. So
far, have you launched? Is it in the market already?
Yeah, is it in the market already? Yes.
Yes. So within your current roster of customers, who's a good illustration or example of a great customer that had a need and where you really just did an excellent job in meeting their needs? I guess what I'm leading to is going back to Jeff's point about creating a user persona and introducing maybe what they wanted to achieve, dealing with, the VUCA and how you streamline sort of strategic thinking for a company. And at least, and if you articulate one use case and the challenges they had, and then your gamification of the process and how you improved it. Because I think this is very dense and it took us some time to learn. And I think having that persona in there might give context to the audience more quickly. And I'll pause there and let folks chime in. Jeff, chime in if you agree or disagree.
No, I agree. I think the I kept finding myself thinking, what slide is this? What are we presenting? Are we presenting the problem, the solution, the value prop? It was kind of mushing a lot of things together.
Mhm.
That said, there's good information here, and I did learn certainly what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish and why. But it does feel like a dense slide. And if this was your only slide, then I could say, okay, I get a little bit of about what you're up to and why. But I don't know where do you, Timur, have this within your own pitch deck? Where does this slide come in?
Yeah, actually, it's a summary of the pitch deck. So I thought
Okay.
I'd make like one slide to
Yep.
pitch in 90 seconds.
That makes
I'll
perfect
give
sense
you
to me.
this.
So
Just because you kind of led into then the skill development and strategic decision making, that for me personally was a nice hook, and it left me thinking that's interesting. I want to hear more. So mission accomplished in that, because you closed with a call to action, and you got me. I do want to learn more. So in that way it worked, but I think you could have teased a little bit more about, like I said, that use case to give a little bit more context.
Yeah. Thank you. Nice advice.
Okay, I think officially we're supposed to end at quarter after the hour. We can go a little bit longer. I don't know if Daniel and Natasha need a little bit of wrap-up time now, or if we just want to kind of jump straight to the Q&A. I also wanted to say I put into the meeting chat a link to an executive summary template, but I'm still not clear if I sent it only to some people or if everybody got it now in the chat window. Okay, good.
All right, everyone's got it. Very good.
We got it, yeah.
Are there any
Anybody?
general questions? Does anyone have, in the last couple of minutes before we wrap for the moment, are there any general questions people have? Have we sparked any thoughts or curiosities, or have we not addressed some things that somebody would like to hear, and have some conversation about?
Oh, good.
I like throw with
Excuse me.
confirmation.
I do have a question actually. When we are speaking about B2B customers and maybe a little bit more industrial product that is hardly relatable with the general audience in first place, what recommendation would you use to find a good story to make that problem relatable?
Why do you think it's not relatable to B2B people? They have to do jobs, they have to accomplish things. And if you say, I'm trying to, do soundproofing that's, safe for the environment, or whatever it is, people doing jobs within a large enterprise still have challenges, and you could still create empathy even for those people. That's how I feel. I don't know.
I'll even extend that example. For example, if out of the context of your business, Elena, if you were imagining someone is an HR manager in a distributed factory, industrial type environment, and they have employees all around various factories around the continent or around the world, and they have to manage all of those employees. That's a very relatable story to people, right? It's a totally industrial story, a totally industrial B2B job, not a consumer, I'm trying to sell you, cosmetics or have you download my dating app. It's not that kind of a business. But I think people can say, wow, yeah, it would be more challenging managing a group of distributed workforce people. And how do you bring a SaaS solution, for example, that helps them do that? Whatever, I'm making it up now. But I don't think the B2B context makes it less relatable to audiences. I think it's how you message the story that either hits or misses on being able to make it relatable to the audience. I don't know if that helps.
I got it. Yes,
Good.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Jeff, I was going to suggest maybe you go back to your deck to our closing slide, because we also love good, honest feedback and tell us what we could have done better, what we did okay. And if you do that, we can also email you and even share the link that you can get the story flow document, like once we get your feedback.
Yeah, and here's of course, our contact information as well. So. We know we didn't get to hit on all slides and all questions, but hopefully this gives us an opportunity to share a little bit of the approach that we work, how we work with the various founders within your businesses, and really helping to refine and hone your story to enhance the investor readiness. That's our primary focus, and we really do break it down one slide at a time and make sure that whole story just keeps people on the edge of their seat with intrigue and curiosity and, as I called it earlier, enthusiastic interest to know more.
Well, I want to thank Helen and Jeff for your outstanding work again. We really love working with you. Out of curiosity, is there anybody in the room that has applied for the GoUSA? Raise of hands. Anybody? No? Anybody planning to? No? Oh, okay.
Couple hands up.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, if you have any questions, you can contact us. I should put up that slide again. Let me share.
Yeah, let me get my share down here, Natasha.
Yeah. Share it so you have our email address. Do you guys see it?
It's coming back on right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, those are our email addresses. Any questions? Again, please feel free to email us. We want to thank you for taking time out of your dinner time in Austria to be with us and to learn more from Jeff and Cal. And I hope to see a lot of you applying for the program, and hopefully either here in Boston or in Atlanta for our GoUSA. Have a great evening, everybody, and thank you again for joining us. And thanks, Jeff and Cal.